Hello and welcome everybody back to the Netolic Raid Call Pro League East Division Winners Bracket. So this will kick off the Winners Bracket portion of our playoffs. All games in the Winners Bracket, all matches in the Winners Bracket, I should say, will be played best of three. This being our first best of three series, and what a series it is. Orange versus MUFC, two absolutely fantastic teams, both top in their group in the group stages of this tournament, and both looking to seek the victory here and move on through the tournament to the eventual grand finals on May the 5th. This is the Netolic Raid Call Pro League. The official tournament website is netolic-raidcall.com, netolic-raidcall.com. I'm your official English caster, Vikrmon. My co-caster is El Presidente. We'll introduce him in just a second. And do remember that our primary sponsor for this tournament is Raid Call, the excellent voice-over IP program. You can download it at raidcall.com. And in channel 2013, throughout the tournament, there will be prize giveaways. You can cheer for your favorite team, discuss, do whatever the heck it is that you want to do within that Raid Call channel. Anyway, El Presidente, how excited are you for this game? You gotta unmute yourself to inform me of how excited you are. Alright, well, we'll get him in just a second. Can't hear him right now. But we are up into the draft. So Orange choosing to secure that Magnus first. So this is a hero that some teams really go for a little bit more than others do. So some people really like to pick up this Magnus early, have that RP, have that massive teamfight capacity. Other teams sort of draft him later, not at all, or seek to ban him out in something like the second ban phase. It's very rare that we actually see that Magnus picked up in the first phase, and here we see much more typical bans of the Shadow Demon. Actually, it's rare that we see SD ban first, but it is a perfectly reasonable ban, depending on what your eventual draft plan is. Keeper of the Light, Bat Rider, Lifestealer, meanwhile, are completely bog standard. Elprez, do I hear you now?
Yes, you should.
Alright. Were you muted before?
Yes, I was.
Gotta remember to unmute yourself. Are you muted in-game?
I remembered to not be muted in-game, though,
good.
So that's all good.
Excellent. Alright.
Yeah. So, I actually really like the draft coming out of MUFC early. They picked up the early Nyx Assassin. Nyx Assassin's absolutely fantastic hero, just completely broken with that Spike Carapace. And the Lone Druid is, just kind of a Southeast Asian Chinese Dota staple, so I'm not too surprised to see that picked up either. Orange, it's a little bit interesting that they opt for a early Tinker and Leshrac pick. Leshrac usually will get through the second set of bans if you don't reveal that you're going for heavy push strat in your first three picks. So it's a little bit weird to see Leshrac picked up so early over heroes, I don't know, like Bane, which I guess isn't as popular in Southeast Asia.
Not quite as popular. He's still fairly strong and well-regarded, but not as much as something like Magnus Lone Druid, Queen of Pain, Nyx Assassin. I do like the Tinker, actually. If you want a Tinker in a Southeast Asian game, you really actually have to get it first phase, because he frequently will cop like a 5th respect ban or something, or like a 5th ban. I actually think the most common position we've seen Tinker in this tournament is as that 5th and last ban. So if sort of you want to secure the Tinker, if it's part of whatever you have planned, you do have to sort of pick him up in that first phase. Not as the first pick necessarily, but in this case, Orange had the first and then second and third picks as a bundle, so they take him essentially right at the end of the first pick phase. And then Invasion, goodness gracious. MUFC, meanwhile, they do secure up that Queen of Pain. Absolutely an excellent hero, provides so much presence around the map, can blink around, really harass you down, and I feel like their lanes maybe are a little bit less defined than Orange's, although I guess both teams can sort of, Orange can opt to run the Tinker in a solo lane safe, and then the Magnus mid, or vice versa. I think it's more likely to be Magnus solo safe, but what do you think about that?
It's probably gonna be Magnus more likely to be solo safe because Tinker does like contesting the runes. The only problem is when you're trying to contest runes with Queen of Pain, you're going to lose most of those fights unless you guess right. And your opponent guesses wrong as a Tinker. And as a result, he's probably forced to Bottle Crow, and even then, mid lane's a little bit preferred because the distance from the mid lane to your fountain's a little bit shorter, so you can get the bottle to you a little bit faster when you're trying to do the Crow. So that, when I say that, but I'm not even sure if that's exactly true. I think the off lane might be a little bit shorter, just a little bit, but you're usually ahead of your tower anyways, so.
Yeah. I think that's more likely what they're going to do. What we see in the second ban phase is Orange just really focusing out those second support options for MUFC. So they take out the Rubik. This is a very important ban because MUFC chose not to take the Rubik with their third, or actually with any of their first 3 picks. Rubik, the most frequent response to Magnus, because he has really 2 things that are very effective against Magnus. He has a Spell Steal, which makes it so that he can sort of turn Magnus's thing against him. And then, his RP, his Shockwave, his Skewer, what have you. And then the second thing that Rubik has that's useful is actually Null Field, because Magnus does deal an incredible amount of magic damage, and Orange have added a
10 seconds
really
remaining.
A bevy of magic damage on top of that in the form of the Tinker and the Leshrac.
5 seconds
They're really,
remaining.
at this point, a primarily magic damage dealing team. This will probably change the second phase, because we do see that most of the bans are targeted towards supports, Sand King, Lina, Rubik, which means that a lot of strong number 1 options are going to sneak through. Things like Anti-Mage, what have you. Now, Orange are playing sub-Mushi, and I know Mushi likes those really greedy high-farm heroes. So, Juggernaut, yeah, critical ban against the Lone Druid because of the pairing of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So far, we're seeing some pretty fantastic bans, and one of the big things about the Rubik ban is definitely that null field in this particular matchup. When you have Tinker, when you have Leshrac, that's a lot of magical damage going out. Almost all of the damage coming out of Orange's team is in fact magical in nature. So the extra 20-ish%, which brings your average resist up to 36 to 40% to magic, is going to be a huge amount, and it's really going to make it difficult for Leshrac, for Tinker, for Magnus to really put out their full damage. And we're seeing a Luna ban, and that's a hero that we actually haven't seen a lot of played this tournament overall. So
it's just
kind of interesting.
Luna, I think, is actually a pretty good ban. She is able to attack both, for instance, both the Lone Druid and his bear at the same time. She's a strong carry option, and she gets good a little earlier than a lot of other carries do, so her timing will be impeccable with sort of that Tinker. The 2 of them can push out a lane so incredibly quickly.
Weaver!
And Orange secure the Weaver for themselves, so this looks like potentially a number 1 role Weaver. What do you think about that?
You know what? I think it might be another support Weaver, like the 3rd one that I've seen the last 2 weeks. They just kind of go for a max swarm, they sit behind, they drop the swarm off, and they set it up with some physical attackers. And that can actually work really well because Leshrac's Edict is part physical damage if they wanted to go for a more offensive tri-lane with that. Well, it's not part physical damage, it's composite damage, so it's damage is based off of magic resist and armor. Visage. Woo.
So that's a hero that we actually fairly rarely see in the Asia scene. We see it quite often in the West, actually, because certain teams have it as a pocket pick. Team Liquid likes running the Visage. We've seen Dignitas use it quite a bit, especially AoE 2000. We've seen Maus use it a few times. Basically, there are teams that use Visage and teams that don't, and it seems like a very clearly delineated line. So I wonder if MUFC... I have not seen them, not in this tournament, and actually not in any games of them that I've watched lately, but they do look like they're picking it up for this. I think this is probably Winter's hero this game. So we'll see how this sort of high execution cost, low margin of error hero actually pays off for them. Now, Visage brings a lot to the table, of course. He really ramps up your damage. We talked about how the Rubik gives you a lot of magic resist. Orange have a lot of heroes that are actually fairly low survivability. The Leshrac, the Weaver, absolutely low survivability. He just sort of has a good escape mechanism and a good back-in-time ability. But Visage can really punish low HP heroes with that Soul Assumption just by slamming them if they're already taking damage. And speaking of slamming, Orange will fill their lineup out. You can see that so many supports got taken out that you're sort of looking towards the second tier, as it were, some of the more specialist supports. So how do you think the Earthshaker fits into this picture?
I love Earthshaker. I think he's an awesome hero. I think he has some serious drawbacks, including the need for a Blink Dagger. Some heroes can get away with it, some heroes need it. Earthshaker desperately needs one if he wants to initiate. That said, with Magnus, it's actually going to be a lot easier for an Earthshaker to get into a decent position to land that Echo. Also really good with Weaver, I think, personally, because if Weaver does get caught on the other side, he can just time-lapse to get back across his own fissure. So that can be used as an escape mechanism as well. So if Weaver is about to die, you block off the enemy chase route, Weaver time lapses, and you run. So just some fun combos there. The Visage pick is a little bit weird because he does put out insane amounts of damage with that Soul Assumption. It's pretty ridiculous, actually. It's like on a... what's the cooldown on it? 4-second cooldown, does like a maximum of... like 300... Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like two different heroes.
65 times 6 souls, so it's like basically a 400 nuke on a 4-second cooldown. It's pretty remarkable if you can actually keep it rolling. And Windrunner fills it out, so I think we might see... I don't actually know, maybe they will run the Magnus as a solo hard, just because I'm a little worried for this Leshrac, Weaver, Earthshaker lane in a 3vs3 context, but maybe I shouldn't be.
I don't know, it's hard to say for MUFC, just because this particular lineup is a little bit weird, I guess, but it looks like we're seeing a supporting Nyx. I don't know if they're going to offlane the Lone Druid or farm the Windrunner, though. That's the real concern here for MUFC.
Sure, I mean, we have seen farming Windrunner. It's not something that happens super often, but honestly, we see Windrunner so irregularly these days that I feel like half the time it is actually a farming role. But maybe which players go up on which heroes will be useful to sort of figure that out. Let's introduce the teams. I'll go for Orange, and you can grab up MUFC. So, for Orange, we will have Ohio probably going up into the middle as that Tinker, although we'll have to see because they're grouped up as 5 right now. Then we've got Net as support on the Earthshaker. We've got Extinct on the Leshrac. KYXY will be taking up that Weaver role, and Kesekimba will be on the Magnus. I know Twitch TV has asked a lot. Mushi is not playing. It is not because he is BMing anybody. It's just because, for whatever reason, he has to not play. Orange is, of course, a permanent, full-time 6-man roster, so it's completely normal for one player or another to sit out based on who is actually playing in the particular game. So Kesekimba will be taking up that Magnus.
Well, in the world of 6-man rosters, MUFC is no stranger. We got TFG on the Windrunner. We got... who was on... Winter is playing... no, Winter is playing the Nyx Assassin. Ling is on Visage. We're seeing Contrash player playing Queen of Pain. And I think one of these guys is Sharky. I know one of these guys is Sharky. I think is he GOAT?
Let's take a look. No. GOAT is FCFC.
Alright, so GOAT is FCFC,
is
so that means...
the same person.
Are they? I thought they were 2 different people.
I'm gonna get called out if that was wrong. I'm pretty sure it's the same person, but I don't know anything.
No, because I remember reading Sharky and Hontrash player join MUFC. I think Sharky is using Ling as his tag right now.
Yeah, you're right, actually. You're right.
The pattern rewoven.
Anyway,
so
it looks like, yeah, I think I was... maybe I was wrong. We've got Tinker at the bottom, so Ohio is going up as Tinker, but it looks like it might actually be KYXY solo hard on the Weaver. And Weaver's a competent solo lane hero. He is able to stealth and get out. And then in the middle, we're going to have Kesekimba. This is really not that big of a surprise. This is probably the best spot for this Magnus. He's going to do okay against Huntress player on the Queen of Pain. Should be alright. Yeah, I don't know what I was talking about. Sharky's not the same person. And then it looks like a tri-lane, so we have seen the farming tri-lane Tinker with 2 supports before. And basically what this comes down to is Orange really running basically a tri-core lineup. So 3 players who all sort of need levels, all need farm, and you guarantee all of them the ability to do that. If Tinker's not in the middle, you can think of Tinker as potentially the weakest link in that lineup, or the one that's least likely to get that free farm. So they're just guaranteeing that with these lane pulls and all. Meanwhile, on MUFC's side, they've actually put up Lone Druid in the jungle. So, as a result of this, this actually is a very, very safe lane for Orange. I'm probably going to expect to see Net and Extinct after they get a level or 2 in this jungle. You can see that they're not just pulling, they're not just stacking and pulling, they're actually using the creeps to clear out these waves. So, rather than try to manage the lane, they're using this explicitly to get XP and just get some levels up on these supports. And I think this is absolutely smart because they have an uncontested lane. After they get a few levels, I expect to see them start roaming around and really try to punish MUFC.
This is, I think, the first time I've seen a triple pull happen in a game. Usually they just double pull and watch the creep wave get wiped. And this is actually really interesting to see coming out of Orange. And I don't think you can actually do this on the Dire side. So they're really taking advantage of their side, I guess, advantage for this particular matchup.
You can do it on the Dire side.
I'm not sure what the third camp you would pull. I guess you would have to pull. You would have to pull the small camp and then try to get 3 pulls out of that, but I don't think that's possible.
Tough, yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying. So
but that said...
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm actually really... Oh, KY.
Ooh, trouble for KYXY. It looks like he's going to get away, actually. So this solo lane Weaver doing okay so far. He's gotten... I don't know. It's a tough lane for him, definitely. There's some good sentry ward placement done by MUFC here, and just overall... It's going to be difficult for him to find too much XP unless he has the sustain to just always Shukachian out of there. So far, he's alright, but he's not leveling... Well, not really nobody is leveling. Like, we do actually see Sharky rotating to the bottom here on Lone Druid, so he's going to sort of try to survive up in the solo lane, but...
Where's the bear? Oh, there's the bear. It's kind of running through the jungle here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just trying to do a pull him through, and yeah, that's a pretty smart thing to do. Lose the bear, because if he loses the bear here, that's on a he's gonna lose the bear again. OFC. And it's 100 gold to extinct.
The bear. That's too bad. He's probably got the resummon, doesn't he? Oh no, he doesn't. Wow, he just resummoned it. That's actually a very, very bad situation for that lone druid to be in. KYXY just applying a little bit of harassment on Huntrash player in the mid here, and Queen of Pain actually forced to go back home. So Weaver doing a little bit of work. Of course, he is only level 1. The highest person on the map is level 5 Ohio on this Tinker, so he's doing quite well for himself. We actually do see he has a couple points unspent, so still figuring out how he wants to actually do that. Obviously, laser and rockets are both completely meaningless when you face no opposition in your lane, unless you decide to... You can have level 1 laser just to kill creeps occasionally, because it is pure damage. It's a pretty decent last-hitting tool. But other than that, I mean, it's not tremendously useful.
In the world of dangerous runes to be dealing with, we see Net picking up that Invis rune, so actually going to be really potent here. The problem is that Orange's lineup is particularly squishy, and diving past a tower is not in their future. That's not very safe thing for them to do.
They're going to push up the lane into it. I think they want this fissure. They can completely block off FCFC, and it's not like he has an entangle-capable bear. He will get brought down. Lone Druid does not have amazing HP by any stretch of the imagination. It's 530. So if a good fissure comes down and they do dive with a creep wave, and they have a few creeps right now, they're just pressuring with this Diabolic Edict. Net just still being right back, but he's actually going to run out of Invis. Oh, he fissures the wrong side, so he just fissures to... Because he might as well, because he was invisible. FCFC just pinging it out, being like, hey guys, just so you know, this guy just came out of Invis. So they do know that they don't have to worry about that invisibility rune. It was running out of time as is.
Yeah, just a little bit of luck for MUFC. It just seemed like Orange wanted to really make something happen, but they were being almost a little bit too patient about it, and they just didn't make anything happen in time. So it's been a really quiet game. And actually, the supports from MUFC are all smoked up, looking to...
I've been watching them.
To pincer.
It looks like they were trying to go for the mid, but now they're going to rotate to the top. So Winter, depending on the timing of this Impale, it looks like it's going to land out. Shackle Shot hits as well. To FTFG, he doesn't actually pick up the kill. But still, that's the first blood on KYXY. He is still a level... He's actually gotten up to a level 3 Weaver. But this could very well be the top tower here, unless more support is rotated in from Orange. I don't think the Fortify alone is enough. There's 3 ranged creeps, a siege creep, and there's just a pretty concerted effort to bring down this tower going on. And I think MUFC have it. Will Too Fucking Good pick up the last hit? No, it actually is dispersed out over the team, which is actually more gold, so...
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. You actually do get more team gold whenever the creeps kill it. The only problem is that when you really need gold on a singular target, that's obviously the worst way to go. But where is Queen of Pain's bottle? Is she bottle crowing? Huntrash is bottle crowing right now.
Yeah.
So
in the middle, Ketchikimba actually is doing pretty well for himself. He's level 6, he has his reverse polarity. He is a slight bit behind where Huntrash player is, about half a level, but you're okay with that as Magnus. Again, you aim less to win the lane as Magnus than you do to not dramatically lose the lane. If you find your levels, if you find your arcane boots by the time you start roaming, you're in pretty good shape. It looks like Orange are going to attempt to respond to MUFC's tier 1 tower with the tier 1 tower of their own, but there goes the shackle shot, and actually a lot of damage getting thrown out here. Leshrac on the retreat. Net is probably caught out. I think this is another death for Orange. Yes, the rotation of Visage adds enough damage. And Extinct probably will make it out of this okay. Power Shot gets it out. Soul Assumption, the combination of the two. That is an excellent combo, and one that MUFC are already deploying to great effect. The Power Shot to start it, the Soul Assumption to follow. Huntrash player wants a little bit of blood, but he's just deflected by Ketchik here. Actually reveals his presence with that. And MUFC are going to play just a little bit more conservatively after that. They pull back. They don't have a tier 1 tower here. Ling actually staying in this lane, but he's probably going to have to leave. Yeah, there's 4 people here. He's not going to stick around.
Definitely not a favorable trade for Orange, to be honest. They did get the tier 1 tower, so that's big for like Weaver. But they did end up losing 2 for it, and there were 2 supports, but that's still 2 supports that's going to set you behind, especially because there was such good rotation on MUFC. There were 3 or 4 people down here, so that's really the maximum amount of gold you can get for 1 kill outside of having like a bounty hunter thrown into the mix. So really good play coming out of MUFC, especially their rotation.
Right. And they're actually developing this Visage pretty well for that meta. He's actually almost level 6. Level 7 is really a great level for Visage. He has his level 1 Familiars, and then he has also level 4 Soul Assumption, based on the way that he's actually building this out. Which means basically the maximum damage potential. And with that combo of any sort of damage going out from Huntrash player, or any sort of damage going out from TFG, combined with the Soul Assumption, is an amount of damage that, again, these not very tanky heroes of Orange are going to have a difficult time dealing with.
Yeah, it looks like Huntrash was just spotted by a Sentry Ward. They just ran right over it.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to spot out, obviously, if you don't have any detection on your part.
Yeah, and we can see that Extinct is being really passive about it because he was spotted there, but there's a huge rotation onto mid by Orange, so they're looking to pick up this tower.
They want to at least take the tower. I think they want to start to gain map control a little bit, because it gives you more vision, it restricts the opponent's team's vision. MUFC have this sort of rotatable gank squad that can do a lot of damage to you, so it makes sense to try to seize map control in response. But right now, Ohio is mostly just farming up the jungle. Keep in mind, he has hit his Boots of Travel timing, and in 9 minutes, that's actually quite good. It looks like he'll hit Soul Ring and about 100 more gold. So the good news for them, Tinker, Ohio is the most farm person on the map. I mean, this Tinker is pretty significant, above where TFG or Huntrash player are, really. And they're finding farm for KYXY at this point as well. He is up to level 6. I think he's a little ahead of where FZFC is on this Lone Druid. Yeah, about 1 level ahead. So pretty good shape for him. Everybody's sort of finding their levels, I would say. Nobody is really struggling that much. And so it'll sort of be a question of if these two teams both execute their game plan, who actually has the advantage. And what do you think about that?
Honestly, I find it hard to say. I think Orange's team lineup has a lot more damage, really, than MUFC's, because the Windrunner pick kind of throws us for a little bit of mix. I feel like they could have picked a stronger carry than Windrunner, to be honest.
I mean,
that
certainly
said,
Windrunner is more of a semi-carry than a hard carry. But
exactly.
I think that's what they wanted.
I think if they pick up a Desolator on TFG with this mech, they can actually go for some pretty heavy tower pushing in tandem with Lone Druid.
Sure.
And that could be a plan. That could definitely be a very powerful plan for MUFC. But that said, I find it really hard in my mind to really see MUFC winning prolonged team fights.
Yeah. It'll be difficult for them to win a long team fight. Their hope is that they win short, like they immediately win a fight by taking out 1 or 2 players extremely quickly, because their burst is fantastic. Especially if they lead with something like an Entangle. Actually, MUFC chasing out on the bottom, they are trying to find the kill here, but unfortunately there's no one actually here, so they're going to use this to secure vision, which I like. It's smart for them to try to pick up vision of this jungle. And they're rotating Extinct and Net actually spot this out. They fissure down. TFG actually gets RP, but there's going to be a big rotation from UFC here. Will they actually get the kill? Skewer damage to follow. That is enough damage to pick off 1 in exchange for Extinct. So 1-for-1 trade. TFG for Extinct, but Orange have to feel good about this trade. It's their first kill on the board. I think they picked off one of the Visage Familiars as well, so that's almost half a kill on top of that, just in terms of the gold.
Yeah, they were able to pick off one of the Familiars, and that's always a big win. This is why in pub games you occasionally see people pass up on the Familiars. They just give up so much to your opponent if you can't do it correctly. And even in pro games, it can be very hard to do it perfectly.
But you wouldn't see somebody not taking the Familiars. The potential of them is too good to not take, I feel.
Kind of reminds me of when Drow Ranger's aura was still global, and Familiars were actually the most broken thing, because you would just backdoor towers because they have built-in max attack speed.
Right, of course.
So.
Drow not in CM, except in Dota 1 and Southeast Asia, and that the aura no longer works that way, which is all for the better. It looks like a gank attempt going to come out on KYXY again here, and this might actually be the second time he goes down. There is a sentry ward already placed. He is still juking fairly aggressively. Actually, I think he's out of range of the... Oh, another sentry goes down. This is going to be a Visage Familiar stun chain. KYXY, he actually is still alive, but he will be brought down. Just the damage, enough. FCFC getting some much-needed XP there. He is actually up to almost level 7 as a result of that. Orange, the trade-off they're attempting to make is for this mid-tower, but they actually don't have much of a creep wave here at all. March of the Machines go down. They are using the Leshrac Edict to damage this somewhat. Keswick being nice enough to actually tank the tower while Extinct bashes it with that Edict, but not quite enough damage yet. And again, they're not finding the really effective trades where it's like, okay, we lose Weaver, but we pick up a tower. Because if you don't get the tower, that trade really doesn't pay off.
One of the big problems we're seeing coming out of Orange is that their supports are woefully underleveled in comparison to MUFC's. All of MUFC supports have hit their critical levels, to be absolutely honest. Ling has hit his level 7. That's a critical level. That's when your Soul Assumption gets maxed out.
Right.
Nyx Assassin hits his level 6. He has Vendetta. That makes him an actual threat on the map as far as ganking is concerned. Windrunner is actually sitting pretty high at level 9. Queen of Pain as well. So there's a lot of damage coming out of MUFC. So this is a really big problem for Orange when their supports are floating at level 5, both of them. So they're being out-leveled by 1 or 2 levels each, and this could be a big problem.
Right. Do you think that's a matter of just the supports being part of more kills on MUFC? I mean, we do have... The Visage has been part of every single kill. 5 kill participation.
It's that and the fact that the supports combined have 3 of the 5 deaths on MUFC, so they've been spending a lot of time dead, out of lane, not getting XP.
Sure, sure. It seemed earlier, like even 5 minutes ago, like they were actually finding their levels okay, but I think just a couple more deaths, as well as being a little more clumped up. MUFC are actually more or less spread out except for their ganking attempts, whereas you see that Orange right now, again, they have 4 up here, 4 in the middle. Visage Familiar is actually find down KYXY, and he's just getting very effectively zoned out. He found his levels. I mean, he's level 8. He's actually still above. Alright, FCFC has caught up to him now, but he's just had to... He's gotten picked off so much that it's actually a little bit of trouble to actually get that Weaver developed. It does look like Tier 1 will finally drop just with creep damage. Maybe not. Fissure to escape and a major teleport coming out here. Huntrash player continuing to chase. Soul Assumption will bring net incredibly low. I think he's going to get picked off by the Queen. Good deny there. Tinker managing to kill off Net's Earthshaker just to make sure that MUFC don't get the gold. But again, Orange's efforts stymied. They aren't able to bring down the tower. MUFC actually choose not to deny it. Instead, they're going to push into the Tier 1 themselves. To Winter, they push forward. He gets the stun. Sonic Wave to follow, and another brought down. Ketchik's Magnus, actually, will go down as well. And that's probably the Tier 1. The Lone Druid Bear pushing. It's got the Demolish. He can Battle Cry it up. He actually, no, he can't, actually. He doesn't have Rapid. He can Battle Cry, and he just did, but he does not have Rapid for that extra attack speed. They're trying to bring down that bear, maybe the March of the Machines, but it hardly matters. MUFC are going to secure the tower. We do have a TP coming in. KYXY is on the ground. Fissure gets thrown out. He's stunned. Shackle shot. KYXY is locked down. Will he actually die? Yes, the Soul Assumption picks it off. And so far, this Visage has contributed so much damage to these fights. I gotta say, this pick has been great so far.
Absolutely. We're seeing that Sharky is doing... Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Sharky. We've established it's Sharky, but Sharky is doing a fantastic job. He is making some huge plays with the Soul Assumption. The range is devastating. The 410 damage is ridiculous, and I actually think that Sharky is building towards his pipe, because I saw the Buckler. Yep, Mechanism's already picked up on TFG as well. So these are some fast support items coming out, and it's actually not a pipe. He's actually going to build a Medallion of Courage and Urn of Shadows instead.
Nice. Interesting. I actually really like this because the medallion will be good for the bear and for Windrunner, honestly. So it'll be a little more damage for Too Fucking Good and more damage for FCFC. Doesn't do anything for the Queen of Pain, of course, but the urn will give them that great sustain, that ability to push off of an advantage. If they kill 1 or 2 players, they can just sort of push immediately as a consequence. And holding the Invis rune here for a Huntrash player. Orange actually don't have vision of this. They're actually, their vision is quite bad of the map right now. They don't have a good idea of what's going on. They're doing their best with Ohio to actually secure a pushing advantage and get these lanes pushed out with the Tinker, but it's not doing that much for them. They haven't really been that successful. MUFC just immediately clearing out anything that they actually try to do. Focus Fire and the Medallion will actually bring down Brush incredibly quickly. He's going to fall. This is most likely FCFC if I had to guess, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's probably FCFC.
Nope,
they're
it's going to be
Huntrash
player. So he almost done with his Orchid. This is going to be a pretty good Orchid timing. Not the best Orchid timing in the world, but Queen of Pain isn't quite as dependent on that early Orchid the way a Storm Spirit or a Clinks are when they do go in. So should be fine for them anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually going to bring up that they could have done early Roach. And this mid tower is actually now deniable, so yep, TFG and Sharky are on it. So
good job.
So Orange really behind now. They're behind 1 tower, 1.5 towers because of deny. And they're down 7 kills. And the big problem for all those 7 kills is that MUFC have huge team presence. A lot of their teammates were there for those kills, so they were able to spread out the XP quite a bit. Yeah, as we can see, it really pays off for the supports when we see a Visage, Sharky at level 8, Winter at level 8, compared to Extinct and
Net is still level
6 and 5.
That's the whole thing. They don't even have Echo Slam. Not that they have the Blink to take advantage of it. And just in general, I think Orange is not developing their heroes the same way MUFC are. They haven't even started a mechanism. Actually, this will help them. They get a little bit of damage out. They kill 1 Visage Familiar. This were just used to scout there, which is probably their worst role. They have horrible vision. But looks like Orange are going to get out of this no problem. So they get a free kill on a Familiar. That's another 100 gold. And frankly, it's critical because if you just look at the item development, Ohio is basically all of the relevant items for Orange. He's got his Boots of Travel, so he's that annoying moving around Tinker. He's got his Blink Dagger, and he's got his Soul Ring. Nobody else has anything of note. We finally see the Blink Dagger now on Ketchik, so that'll be useful. When he hits level 11, it'll be doubly useful because he will have that rank 2 RP. But that's the first item that Orange have put on the board other than Ohio, whereas the Orchid is complete on Huntrash player, they have a Mechanism, Urn, all this good stuff coming out for MUFC. Including, I think Sharky is making out a pipe? Keswick, KYXY is silenced. He is Orchided. That might be enough damage. It is. RP comes out onto Winter's in trouble. Skewer will take them a long distance. Echo Slam in the middle of it. Winter's somehow still alive. Sharky picks up another kill, and actually Ketchikimbo will probably drop as well. A double kill for him, but he gets picked off. Huntrash player pretty low, but he blinks out with the Queen of Pain. And Orange, even in what I thought was almost the best initiation they could find, they still lose 3 for 2.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely a big win for MUFC. That RP was phenomenal, and it was really just the fantastic timing from the Windrunner with that mechanism to keep up Winter long enough to stun out Net as well. So just some great playing coming out from MUFC as a whole. That 3 for 2 trade is not something that Orange want to give up either, especially when the entirety of MUFC, save for FCFC, managed to get a lot of XP out of all of that, and we're seeing another skipping boots on Lone Druid for his bear. So it's quote Battle Tank Lone Druid all over again.
That's the new meta, dude. That's the Battle Tank Bear meta, or the Barefoot meta, depending on who you ask.
I don't know. I think Barefoot sounds more clever.
All right, that'll be the official name. It'll be the Barefoot meta. I
feel awful.
I think that's a good name.
I feel really bad for saying that.
No way, dude. You have to do things like that with no shame or any sort of issue.
I don't know, but I should have started keeping like a little tally about how many times Sharky has fed a Familiar to this game, because this is getting pretty absurd how many Vs.
No, I mean, I think when you pick up Visage, you concede the fact that occasionally a Familiar will die, and that it's not the end of the world as long as every Familiar on every cooldown doesn't die. I actually think the survivability of these Familiars has been more or less okay. I don't think it's that bad. He's lost 3, 4 maybe, but some of those have been in the pursuit of kills. Like, it's not really feeding a Familiar if you do it in the middle of a fight where you actually.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, an early gem is picked up by Sharky, and I think this is like one of the best things that Visage is good at. Holding a gem because the Gravekeeper cloak is just so good.
Right.
And on top of that, he can do some very easy de-warding using the familiars as well, so pretty potent as a whole. KY is just not finding farm though. He's still looking at building that drums, and he only has
Winter coming in. He's going to impale. He only hits one actually. Extinct's copping a ton of damage. That mana burn is no joke. Ketchik's just trying to skewer through. He doesn't actually hook anybody in. And there's another tower with really no recourse. Orange, maybe if the skewer had caught, but unfortunately it didn't. And MUFC is just going to rotate into the middle. They already clear out the creep wave. TFG will have to see if he actually uses the focus fire again this time. It is still rank 1. No, it doesn't look like they have the creep wave quite yet, but they will continue pressuring this. A resummon of the bear, so if Orange managed to bring down the bear, this is going to be pretty useful for them because obviously FCFC won't have the immediate resummon. But it looks like another easy tower. Ketchik jumps in again. He doesn't find anyone. He's impaled. He's shackled. Tons of damage getting thrown. An excellent fissure, actually. Will he make it out of this alive? No! Soul Assumption gets him again. Contrast player pretty low. He will actually, maybe, yes! They get the Aegis. Enough damage comes out from KIYX right from this Queen of Pain substantially. And MUFC, however, they got the kill, they lose the Aegis, but they pick up 2 towers, and I really feel like they're just in complete command of this game.
Absolutely, that was just a phenomenal play coming out of MUFC. A great shackle. I thought that angle was really weird though, but great shackle coming out from TFG, and that's really been this winner pick. You know, as weird as I thought it would be, is actually doing a lot of good for MUFC. These surprise last couple of picks, the Visage and the winner, have really been paying off for MUFC. It's been really favoring their very aggressive playstyle, and because of the shackles that TFG have been making, it's been really working out. We do see a Force Staff picked up on winner as well.
Definitely excellent. I absolutely love what they've done with this Visage, which is that they just have so much effective burst damage coming out from Winter, from Too Fucking Good, and from Han Trash Player, that Sharky can get that 400 nuke on a 4-second cooldown. And so they're picking off, this is what I sort of talked about. Sure, in a 5v5 brawl, Orange are advantaged, but they haven't been able to find the 5v5 brawl because somebody dies just immediately. Tinker, just Ohio, doesn't feel quite the confidence yet to actually go up in there, or at least not at the beginning, and so KYXY gets picked off, or somebody else gets picked off. Winter popping off a Spike Carapace. This might actually be the solo gank that they want to get here. But Ketchik actually gets Orchid, and it looks like he's going to get picked off trivially easily. And if you can't even find a kill against a solo Nyx Assassin, that's not great shape. FCFC actually pauses it out. It looks like they're going to use the bathroom, and they have lag.
Yeah, it's becoming a huge problem for Orange because they keep getting caught out of position. In that kind of situation, most teams would have thought Winter was a gunner. Really, 3 people moving on Winter, completely unseen by Winter until they were right on them. But a fantastic Spike Carapace ended up stunning up all of Orange. Net, KY, was it KY or was it Extinct that was there? But
Sure.
Net. I'm not sure. There were 3 there, and I can't remember who the last one is. But Keswick as well. They were all stunned immediately by the very, very good Spike Carapace, and that ended up causing the death of Keswick when the support came in to follow up on that stun. So.
By the way, I did check stream chat, and in between like 50 spams, I guess Sharky actually isn't playing today, so it's a different player. I thought that he was aliasing, but no, it's just Link.
Yeah. Okay, it is just Link. Okay, I could have sworn that Sharky was playing, so I guess this is the advantage of a six-man lineup.
MUFC is more like 6+, honestly. They've cycled through quite a bit. And Huntress player was playing as a stand-in even before. Good fissure, actually. Net may have saved them here, but unfortunately Ohio still copying a ton of damage. The Orchid and the Soul Assumptions is enough. And MUFC, again, they just force out kills. KYXY going through all of them. He's going to cop a little bit of damage, but not enough to actually pick him off. And again, this Weaver, just with only power treads and drums, he's just not that much of a force. MUFC are going to continue to push, and without the turtling power of Tinker, I don't know what Orange can do about this. This is probably going to be their last outer tower. And with the inability to secure any form of map control, I really worry about their ability to actually enact what their plans are. What's Orange's game plan here, Alprez? What do they need to do?
Honestly, the game plan is to turtle. The problem is that there's just not enough farm on KY. He has drums and he has a band of elven skin that he's trying to build a Yasha, but he's not going to get it fast enough, and that's a really big problem for Orange.
But they had to have known that it would be difficult to find farm for KYXY in the solo hard lane, right?
Absolutely. They should have known that, and I guess they were hoping that it wouldn't have been as difficult as it was for KY. But, you know, that's the problem when you're trying to gamble against the Visage. Visage just puts out so much damage in the early game with that Soul Assumption. It's actually kind of absurd. Even if the Grave Shield does nothing because he's, you know, moving at max movement speed, we're actually seeing a Scepter being picked up by Visage as well, and that's going to be devastating.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's going to be... That third familiar allows you to have longer AoE stun, more damage. It's actually a substantial amount of extra pushing power as well, because it's another familiar that... at the beginning can just deal great damage. If they do pick up something like an Assault Cuirass for the bear, or a Desolator for somebody, those familiars are going to do no-joke damage. Actually, we see Hyperstones. This could either get built into... It is going to be Cuirass. He does have Plate Mail on the hero. Oh. So that's minus armor, both on towers and on players, and that'll really favor MUFC's sort of mid-term death ball.
On top, we're seeing a gank attempt on TFG, and Keswick whiffed a reverse polarity.
Ooh, sorry for missing that.
And that was less than ideal because that's now 80 seconds MUFC can feel perfectly safe pushing uphill, because that really was their big teamfight ability. They have Earthshaker, but Earthshaker has no blink. They have Split Earths, but Split Earth is a pain to land on multiple people. That RP was really going to be the way that they were going to set up the rest of their Wombo combo early.
Right. I think most likely what they're actually going to do is not... they're going to wait for Roshan. I think MUFC are... Okay, we are getting a pause. I think MUFC feel fairly confident that they have control of the game, so they don't feel a need to push to high ground until they actually pick up that Roche. And are they spot checking it? They've got... Actually, Roche is up in like 10 seconds, and you can see FCFC has already positioned himself to take advantage of this Roshan when it comes up. So I'm not tremendously surprised by this. I definitely think that they're not high grounding until they get it. But it's not going to be long until they do get it if they want it. It's going to be up imminently, in fact. It already is up, basically. And Blink on Winter is no joke either. I mean, this gives this Nyx Assassin even more initiation power, and you can just see what is Net's recourse other than his fissures have been excellent, but unless they're excellent and his team somehow takes immense advantage of it and he finds the Echo Slam opportunity, it's going to be hard for a level 7 Earthshaker to actually do anything about this. I mean, we're talking about a level 12 Visage with 11 out of 14 teamfight participation and no deaths. I mean, Ling has honestly been the story of this game more than anybody. When Hantrash player was 0-0-1, Ling was already part of 5 or 6 kills.
Yeah, and again, this is just the power of Visage in the early game. He does fall off pretty dramatically the longer the game goes off because of his reliance on nuke damage. But that said, a third familiar will enable so much base pushing power out of MUFC, it's kind of absurd.
And they give it to Hantrash player again. What do you think of putting it on the Queen of Pain and not the Lone Druid for a high ground push?
I think Hantrash has been really aggressive and playing on the forefront, so this could be actually a very high reward decision to give it to Hantrash, let him get a little bit more up in their face, get the Orchid, pop off everything, die, come back, pop off everything again, and probably get 3 kills. So, that said, the Orchid is absolutely mandatory for Orange to get anything done.
Keswick will get out. KYXY, will he be so lucky? They do have a gem. It's on the Visage, though. So unless they get over here, they may have trouble actually spotting out KYXY. It looks like he will TP out successfully. Yes, he does. So Orange safely surviving, and playing Keep Away I think is their best bet at this point. They need to somehow develop these heroes. Right now, again, only Ohio is contesting any of 4 players on MUFC. We talked about how MUFC were running a tri-core. At this point, it's almost a quad-core, because this Visage has done so well, completing that Aghanim Scepter, and moving on from that, frankly, at this point. He's got 700 gold on top of it already. If he wanted to finish off this pipe, just as anti-Tinker, anti-Leshrac, anti-Magnus tech, he could probably do that, not that soon, but not that long either.
I feel like the pipe is really important to pick up. And I say that just because, one, it enables fantastic pushing into the whole Lightning Storm, March of the Machines, let's stop your push brigade.
Actually, they have a pipe on Windrunner. I'm totally off. He's just...
Oh, they do have a... Yeah. So then, actually, I really love this headdress pickup, because that means they're getting the 2 auras without any problems.
That is true. You get an extra headdress is no joke. I mean, Visage, it helps his familiars a little bit. It's not actually a bad pickup at all. Maybe they sort of thought that they weren't building mech on Windrunner initially, but this is fine. They're going for a mid-game death ball, and I like that they've built expecting a mid-game death ball. They're not... It's not sort of a split position. Sometimes you see teams will go for, like, we want to win in 20 minutes, and we want to push. And they pick up Nature's Prophet, and they'll get a Midas. And it's like, well, if you're planning to win in 20 minutes, that Midas is actually counterproductive. So, in this case, that's my feeling about what Too Fucking Good is building. If he were building stuff like Crit Stick or something, like Daedalus, I'd be like, well, if your plan is to push in, why are you trying to build your Windrunner to hard carry late? Instead, they've built a good overall build with a mechanism with the Pipe of Insight at the exact timings that they've wanted. I mean, how much earlier did they have this mechanism? I mean, it's actually sort of a moot point because they had it infinitely earlier than Orange, since Orange still don't have a mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big things to keep in mind is that TFG can now just kind of extend into more very good pushing items than KY.
Latches, KYXY's Orchided. Good Fissure again, but unfortunately, enough damage comes through again just from Winter and Ling. Every time, these guys are just delivering tons of burst damage from the backfield of play. And so the Fissure, unable to save KYXY. And once again, the hero they need more than ever is on the ground. Ohio's getting stunned out. Wow, he dies quickly. Ling on an unstoppable streak. They've piped. They're pushing into this tower. Immediate buyback from Ohio. He's going to do his best job of turtling this out. But I don't know. They're going to need the RP of their lives. And so far, MUFC are spreading out very, very well. Contrast player on the high ground. FCFC on the low ground. Ling and Winter way in the back. The bear gets brought down. They do have a resummon. They're going to try to pressure this tower. Blink out. I think they're probably still going to go for it. The familiars are refreshed. Battlecry comes out. There goes the first Rax. The second Rax soon to follow. TFG just continuing to harass with these power shots. And MUFC can just get out. No deaths. 2 kills and probably just an incredibly easy seeming Rax. They made it look so simple.
Yeah, it's just... Ohio he wasn't even out of position. He was in pretty good position. Right. It's just that MUFC were able to just get the jump on him without any problems. And this is one of the advantages of giving that Aegis to Hontrash. He can do very aggressive, very risky plays like that without any risk to himself.
Here we go.
It seems
they skewer back FCFC. This is a big deal. He's not holding Aegis. He's down on the ground. The familiars come out. A long stun. Net getting taken down. Contrash player looks like we'll spend his Aegis. He's actually still up. There goes the Aegis. Ling on it now at 7-0 streak. They are clearing out the entirety of Orange. Ling continuing to chase another Soul Assumption. The familiars just chasing them into the fountain. Familiars, get out of there, dudes. Come on now. And MUFC, it does look like they're finally going to... No, maybe they will try to go for these Raxes. TFG dealing some decent damage. He doesn't have the mana for Focus Fire. So this is going to be a fairly slow push here without FCFC. It does look like they're finally going to leave. Ketchik jumps in, but he immediately gets Orchided. He'll get picked off again. No RP! Godlike streak for the Visage. I feel like I keep pointing it out, but oh my god, he's doing well. The Fissure comes out. March of the Machine's trying to do something to Too Fucking Good, but they just can't. This Windrunner just blinking away at these Raxes along with the Queen of Pain. They have almost no push, and it doesn't matter. They can just wait for FCFC to re-enter the fight because Orange have no way to meaningfully punish them. Another Fissure gets thrown out. TFG cops a little bit of damage, but here comes Winter with the blink. He wants the Impale. Good Echo Slam. They actually bring down Winter before he can be a factor. But unfortunately, Hontrash player picks up 2 more kills. And there comes the GG from Net. Orange, they take a quick first loss from an MUFC team that drafted smart, played smart, and just absolutely excellent support play, really finding the kills everywhere on an underdeveloped Orange composition.
You know your supports are doing well when they have 18 teamfight participations, 0 deaths, and almost over a third of your team's kills.
Right. Oh,
that's... Man. Ling was really showing off here. Like, at this point, I feel like this Visage is going to be a future MUFC pocket pick. Sort of like Visage for Liquid. Except, I think this is more successful than I've seen Visage on Liquid for a long time.
This is one of the more successful Visages plays in Dota 2 I've seen. Even when it's done well, it's rare that it's done this well. This is like a blast from the past when Visage was a completely different hero in all of his abilities and everybody tri-lane farmed him.
Yeah, it's amazing how much damage that Visage can do in a tri-lane, I guess even tri-lane versus one hero position. And it doesn't help that Soul Assumption gives him like 3 souls automatically just for using it.
Right.
So it's pretty absurd, but fantastic play coming out of MUFC. And
oh no, no! God damn it. Well,
now we have to fix this.
We can't fix it. It's fine. Go sue gamers and join Dota, and everybody will just think that Orange won this first game. And that's life. Sorry about that, folks. We didn't get quite the disconnect order that we were hoping for. But still, that is the first game of the winner's bracket best of 3 first round between Orange and MUFC in the Netolic Raid Call Pro League East Division. A fairly remarkable game, MUFC coming out to fight and really drafting a mid-game death ball focused around the fact that the Visage can just take advantage of their great spike damage potential with the Nyx Assassin, the Queen of Pain, and the Windrunner, following up with massive push potential from FCFC's Lone Druid, who was effectively shut down in the early game, but in the end, it did not matter because KYXY couldn't find the farm, Ohio couldn't carry the team alone, and the supports were just so underleveled compared to this rampaging Visage. I mean, this is really the story of this game. 9-0 and 9. Like, okay, he had a couple familiar deaths, but...
When you're going 9-0 and 9, I'm thinking to yourself, instead of dying, I would be more willing to give up those familiars. And he was, and he got kills for it.
Yep.
So, fantastic play. Also from Hontrash, 6-0 and 9 as well. So there was no slouch on Hontrash either. And that early Orchid pickup definitely made the difference in this game.
Right.
So,
no, absolutely.
fantastic
and
play.
The other thing, of course, is that the Orchid was just so on point. Ketchik numerous times would blink in and just get immediately silenced before he could skewer, before he could RP, before anything. And so, MUFC, taking out that quick first game. We'll move on to Game 2 in just a couple minutes, folks. Good luck, have fun to both teams. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in a bit.